Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I am. I've got a little mug of hot chocolate on the go. It's nearly drunk. Yum. Well, my goodness me. This is a little bit of an anniversary video. And it's an anniversary I didn't celebrate last year because I was too busy moving in, getting settled and unpacked and all that, etc, etc. Let's get properly comfy. Today, or when you see, no, it'll be tomorrow, when you see this, it'll be 9 years since I received my last ever paycheck. 9 years without a wage and without a pension, without benefits, without any money coming in. I know a lot of people are still a bit confused and think that I retired early. No, I didn't. I'm not retired. Retirement is still 8 and a bit years away, 8.5 years away for me. Is that right? I think it's 67 now, isn't it? And I'm 58. So yeah, nearly, yeah, that's part of 9 years away still. I will be relying almost completely on my state pension, which I've paid into all my life. I'm fully paid up, was fully paid up a few years ago. I have a minuscule NHS pension. I've explained all this before, but it's a minuscule pension from the NHS because I only worked a short time within the NHS. It was my 3rd career. And for most of the time that I worked as a nurse, I was paying back a loan because I couldn't get a student loan. I had to take out a personal loan, and I was really concerned to just get that debt paid off. So I actually didn't pay into my pension for, well, I think it ended up being about 18 months. So my NHS pension will pay me £2 per week. So if I had taken it early, if I'd taken it 9 years ago, I would have been getting, what, about 75 pence a week. So no, this is 9 years without a wage, without pension, without anything. And I think that's pretty blooming amazing. And it deserves a celebration when this time comes around. As many of you know, well, I don't know how many of you know, I don't know how many of you have been with me since the very beginning, but it wasn't, you know, I didn't choose to leave nursing on a whim. I left because I physically couldn't do the job anymore. I didn't have a job to go to, and I mistakenly believed that because I voluntarily left work on advice from my doctor, that because I'd voluntarily left that I wouldn't be able to claim any kind of benefits, not even unemployment benefit. So I thought, oh, what am I going to do? And the one thing I knew I could do was feed myself because of the allotment. And that's how it all started. It was going to be for a year. Can I survive without a wage for 1 year in London, purely based on growing my own food and maybe, and I started the YouTube channel, and maybe a YouTube channel and some other bits and bobs will be enough to pay my bills and I'll get by. And not only did I get by, I positively thrived with it. So that's why it's gone on for 9 years. Honestly, if you'd said back then, you know, I thought a year was a stretch, but if you'd said to me back then, you'll still be doing this in 9 years' time, I would have thought, no way, it's impossible to survive in the modern world without a job or without any kind of financial support from, like I said, pensions or benefits. But it is possible. Cheers to that. Look, and it's been a bit up and down. It's not, you know, I hope in a way, I hope I've made it look easy, because I don't want to stress anyone when they watch my videos. But there are times it's been hard, and there have been times when I've thought, oh God, you know, what am I going to do next month? How am I going to manage? And generally, and that's kind of what prompted me to start my online shop, was because YouTube was, some months it wasn't quite enough to do both bills and the little bits and bobs of food I did need to buy on top of the allotment, produce. So I started the shop as a little bit more income, and then I started doing bits of sewing for a little bit more income. So, like I say, yeah, I've loved it, but I've had to work at it. There have been times I've had to work really hard, really like crazy long hours, you know, maybe 8-10 hours in the garden to grow the food, and then get home and spend the next 6 or 8 hours sewing in order to pay a bill. But I don't think I would change any of it. It suits me, it suits my, you know, I don't have to compromise my ethics by, yeah, I don't have to compromise my ethics, and I don't know what I'll say, I'm happy. But look, you know, finances, I get asked about this a lot, and actually someone mentioned it quite recently, and I was thinking about it for this video anyway, because it's April, dubbed by the press in the UK Awful April, because this is the month, excuse me, I'm going to have my last slurp. Yummy. This is the month in the UK where we get a lot of our annual bills renew in April. So for example, our council tax, which if you don't know, it's a sort of property tax that everybody pays, whether you're a home owner or a renter in a property, we all pay our council tax, and it goes towards roads and local amenities, what have you. It's based on the value of your property, so I'll come on to property banding in a second. But yeah, so that's one of the annual bills. Another one is the water rates. They come in April. And we all know the one thing that happens every year is the bills go up and pay packets don't necessarily go up. I don't know about pensions, not private pensions, state pensions. I think they do go up with inflation. I don't know if they go up enough, probably not, most people would say. But certainly my pay hasn't gone up. My pay hasn't gone up in 4 or 5 years. In fact, it's, you know, there are times when it comes down. So how on earth do we deal with Awful April? I scribbled some notes because I don't want to forget anything. So one thing I do, I've talked about this with budgeting, one thing I do for these annual bills, firstly I pay, wherever possible, I pay things monthly. If I get a bill that I can't pay monthly, it comes all in one go. So like the buildings insurance, my contents insurance, my website. There are various things that come once a year that you have to be paid there and then. I'm not sure how it is with cars, but I think things like your road tax, your MOT, they are one-off lump sums to pay. So what I do is throughout the year, for those annual ones, I put a bit aside every month to cover it when that bill comes. So right now, I'm already putting aside the money for next April's big bills. So I add up all those big one-off bills. I add them all up. Say it comes to, let's do a nice round number. Say all those bills come to £2,400. I know that I need to put away £200 every month in order to cover those bills when they come. So I think that's one of my own tips for myself that has stood me in really good stead. It's almost like the cash envelope system, except rather than using envelopes, I use savings accounts. Now, I know that outside of the UK, so for instance, I know in America, because someone told me about this once, that all your different banks, there are charges. You don't have free banking. In the UK, we tend to have free banking so long as we stay in credit. So long as we're not going into overdraft, banking is free. So that makes it possible for me to have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to have 8 different accounts. And they're like my envelope. So if imagine the envelope system, you've got one envelope that says annual bills. Another envelope that might say emergency fund for the home. Another envelope might say emergency fund for equipment needed to earn a living, like laptop, camera, like having to buy the new camera, that sort of thing. Another envelope, you might have an envelope that's your fun fund, your holiday fund, etc, etc. But that's how I tackle those big annual bills, is the bill fund. And I also, so I'm starting to save now for next year. Every year I try to add a bit, a little percentage. So I'll put it up by 3, maybe 5%. And usually that's needed, excuse me. So I try to anticipate that bit of inflation. But honestly, I think we're getting to a point where, you know, we're all trimming the fat, aren't we? Okay, so I need to step back a bit, talk about trimming the fat. One of the things I had to do, and actually I'm perfectly fine with it, I'm absolutely fine with it, is going right back to 9 years ago, was to say, you know, what can I do without? And this isn't oh, I've had to sacrifice so much, I'm a martyr to my frugality. It's not that at all. I have to be frugal, I don't have much money coming in. So this isn't about martyrdom, it's not about, oh, poor me. But there are things that I made a decision I can do without. So for instance, looking at subscriptions, I had a gym subscription. So I don't need that, you know, I'm going to be working in the allotment harder than ever because I need to produce more food than ever. So I will use the allotment as my gym, cancel my gym subscription. I had at the time, I had a magazine subscription. I think I had 2. I had one to, I forgot what they're called now. I think it was called Simple Life was one of them. And the other one was called, it was something like Psychologies or Psychology. Anyway, they get a bit repetitive anyway, those magazines, but that's something you can look at for yourself is, do I have subscriptions which I'm not really making the most of? Look, if you have a subscription that you really love and you get so much from it, you really, really enjoy it, then that's an important part of your life for your mental well-being, and maybe that's something that you don't ditch. I'm just talking about things that maybe you can ditch, like the garden magazine subscriptions, which seem to repeat. I mean, they do, like gardening videos repeat. How many times have I shared planting tomatoes? So yeah, look at any subscriptions you're not using. I mean, there are all sorts of subscription services these days, aren't there? So all kinds of TV platforms are done by subscription. Maybe there's one of them where you just don't really watch that much. Could that one be jettisoned? Things like, I mean, I get my loo rolls on subscription now. Great. I'm always going to use loo roll. But you might have subscribed to something and that it's coming too frequently. So for example, laundry liquid. I know people subscribe to, not laundry liquid, clothes washing, laundry cleaning stuff, sheets or whatever it is that comes through the post to you. Just have a little kind of like check in all your drawers and cupboards. Have you got a stack of them? Are they coming a bit frequently? Maybe you can go back online and decrease the frequency with which they come, and that'll save a little bit. Any bit helps, doesn't it? Where did I get to? Things to cancel. But even things like with those, say the laundry cleaning stuff, would it be cheaper to go back to the supermarket? It might be, say with my deodorant, that I choose that subscription. I'm not subscribing, I'm just buying it as and when I need it. But I do a postal thing because I can't get that in the shops. And it may be that some of the products you're using, you simply can't buy them in the shops, and that's why you subscribe. But maybe if you've been subscribed to something for 2, 3, 4 years, it might be that it's now available in the shops, and actually it's just as cheap to buy at the supermarket, or it might even be a little bit cheaper because you're not paying a delivery charge. All these little kind of, I always say, you know, that it's that thing, isn't it? If you look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. It's not quite true, but having that mindset of, you know, if I can save, like with the deodorants, I bought 3 in one go, that saves me paying £4 on the postage. Okay, £4, that'll last me 6 months. So over a year, doing that twice, that's going to save me £8. It's not a huge sum of money. However, that's on just one item I use. That's just the deodorant. If I could make a saving like that on my laundry liquid, if I could make a saving like that on my loo rolls, you see what I mean? It does eventually add up. I'm not saying it's going to add up to paying off your mortgage early, but it can certainly add up enough to mean that while we're in this, I mean, it really, look, there's no two ways about it. It's a bit of a hairy time, you know, financially for most of us. Even friends of mine who are earning, you know, fairly decent wages, it's tight for them. Everything's tight because everything just keeps going up. Also, just back on that thing about the subscriptions. And this is what I was saying the other day about the AO, auto renew thing. Make a note of when, and make a list of all your subscriptions, whether it's a magazine, whether it's your gym membership, whether it's laundry sheets coming through the post, whatever it is, make a list of all of them. Your TV, if you pay for a TV platform, and make a note of the date when each of them renews. And put it on your calendar, because then if you decide, actually, this is something we can ditch, some of them they'll ask you for 14 days, some of them might be 28 days notice to cancel. So you don't want to get caught in a loop of paying for something for another year. That used to be especially true of gym memberships. I think the law might have changed a bit, I'm not sure. But anyway, make a note of those dates so that you are being forewarned is forearmed, grr, so you can get things cancelled. But also when it's coming up to a renewal, if it is something you want to keep, is it something you can haggle the price over? And actually, never mind subscriptions, this is bills in general now. Whether it's your fuel bill, gas, electricity, whether it's your internet provider, your mobile phone provider. When it comes to renewing your contract, or I know we now have these in contract price rises, it's definitely worth, I would say it's definitely worth, it's worked for me in the past, it's definitely worth, when they want to put the price up, going back to them to say, can you do any better for me? And if they say no, then say, would you please put me through, oh, excuse me. Yeah, haggling those prices. If they say, no, there's nothing I can do for you, then you can try you know, can you put me through to your cancellation department, please? I'm going to cancel my contract. And that is the bit that's worked for me in the past, where they've said, oh no, let's try and keep you. The other thing especially with annual things like insurance, but never mind, actually, no, it's worth it for all things. Our fuel bills, oh my goodness, they're just crazy high. I know a lot of Americans, when they're watching, will say, actually it's true of a lot of countries, will say, wow, your food is so cheap. You know, when I do a cooking and I talk about the pricing of a recipe, or I do shopping, wow, your food is so cheap. That's as may be, it swings and roundabouts though, because our fuel is some of the most expensive in the entire world. It's crazy. With fuel in particular, it looks like in July that price cap is going to go up again, so it's worth looking now if you can get a new fix. With any bills, I would say before you renew a contract, and this is what I mean about having those dates on the calendar, so you've got advance warning. If you know a contract runs out in July, let's say it runs out the 1st of July, by the 1st of June I'd start looking around at what's on offer, going to the comparison websites. But here's another little tip. When you're on those comparison websites, you probably have to scroll to the bottom of the page. those comparison websites, they don't show all the companies. They show the companies which have paid to be shown there. So if you go to the bottom of the page, there'll usually be a box you can tick to say show whole market comparison, something like that. It'll be obvious if you look down. Click on that and then it should show you the entire market. Yeah, so get back to your original provider, whether it's your phone, your internet, your fuel, whatever it is, to say, you know, I can get a better price elsewhere. Can you match that price for me? Can you better that price? And if they say no, you say, well, please put me through to disconnections. And sometimes that is enough for them to say, no, we'd like to keep you as a customer, we will do that deal for you. And if they say we really can't match that deal, then say, okay, thank you for your service over the years, I'm going to this other company. You know, I don't think, it kind of makes me sad in a way, but I don't think there's any point in having any loyalty to any company these days. Firstly, I don't think they have any loyalty to us. I don't think they could give two hoots about any of us. It's all about profits, and where once upon a time having 20% profits was enough, now it feels like these companies want 200, 300% profits. They literally don't care about us. So don't worry about feeling like, oh, I've always been with this company. I mean, if a company's given you really, really good service, like I have with my internet provider, actually I do look around, and sometimes there's only 50p or £1 difference, and I think for the service I've had, uninterrupted service and fantastic customer services on a phone, you can speak to a human, that's worth it for me. But otherwise, if the company you're with is, yeah, it's okay, it's nothing special, and you find another company priced down here, why not swap? Why not? Yeah, definitely look at when any of your contracts end, whether it's subscription-y stuff or normal regular stuff like fuel bills. Back to the council tax, and I was mentioning about the banding for folk outside of the UK. So it's based on your property's value. So I'm band A, which is the cheapest property. I think it goes up to band E, band F, I'm not sure. I've never been in that kind of banding. So I'm sure most of you will know by now that you can check that you're in the right band. One of my go-to places for all of this sort of stuff is the Martin Lewis website, the money saving expert website online. Great advice. Just put in the search bar what you're after. There's all sorts of tabs you can, you know, drop down. But just go into the search bar, type in what you're after knowing about, and tons of info there. But yeah, checking that you're in the right band is really important. So my London flat, when I moved in, it was a band B, and I thought, there's no way this is a band B property. It's a studio, are you kidding me? So for about a year I was paying at band B. Finally got it looked into and got it rebanded to a band A. So I got a refund for my overpayment, and it was a few £100 I'd overpaid. But from that point onwards, I paid the correct band. Great. Also, and I'm sure most of you know about this, as a single occupant, you can get a 25% discount. I think it's rotten that it's not a 50% discount, because why should I pay 75% of the bill and a couple only pay 50% each? It's not fair, but that's how it is. But also check, I mean, this might be very few of you, but it's worth checking. You can sometimes apply for that 25% discount, even if there is someone else in the property. But if that person, for example, has, I can't remember the wording, it's not the prettiest wording, but it's to do with brain function, mental capacity. So it might be that someone's living with you who has Alzheimer's or dementia, you can get a discount. But it might be a younger person who's suffered a severe brain injury, so might have had an accident, suffered a severe brain injury. In that case, you can get the discount. So again, it's worth checking. It's on Martin Lewis's website. I'm not sure about if one of the people in the property is a carer. But again, look, it's worth checking, isn't it? Because if there are two of you, but you can get 25% discount, you know, our council tax is thousands of pounds every year. So if you can get a few £100s off, well worth chasing it up. So do have a look. And if you're a solo occupant and you've never applied for single occupancy, get applying now. Another one to look at from that point of view is the water bills. For me, it's been a huge financial saving having a meter. Huge saving. In London, I didn't have a meter, and the best they could do for me was give me a single person occupant discount. Again, only 25%. If I was paying in London now, I'd be paying £67 a month. Here, it's more like 17. 50 quid a month. I mean, it's bonkers. Now, so if you're not on a meter, it might be worth considering if it's worth having a meter for you. The general rule of thumb, they say, is if there are less people living in the property than there are bedrooms, it can be worth having a meter. But even if you can't have a meter, there are all sorts of discounts, but not all water companies do them. So, for example, I checked with Wessex, and I don't think they do, but double check for yourself. Some of the water companies do offer lower tariffs for lower income households. So if you're on a low fixed income, whether you know it's state pension or like me, you work, but it's a tiny income, some of the water companies around the country do have schemes to lower your bill if that's your scenario. So again, check it out. I think with all of these, was I mentioning it the other day? I can't remember. Thinking about budgeting. I think it's well worth every now and again taking a day, 2 days off from everything else. If you're working, take a couple of days of annual leave and blitz your bills. Do all this kind of stuff. Get online, look at comparing things, look at switching, whether that's banks as well, because quite often if you switch banks, there'll be a financial incentive. Get your finances in order. Going back to what I was saying at the beginning about pennies looking after the pounds, because literally, you know, £2 saved here, £5 saved there, 40 quid saved there. It all adds up so that someone like me can live, and I live happily. I think I live comfortably. A few scares every now and again, but for the most part I feel like I live comfortably, and I'm doing it on 700. At the moment it's averaging about £700 a month, and when you think the state pension is currently, I think it's 900 and something, I live on less than a pensioner. And pensioners, of course, once you're at pension age, there are all sorts of other discounts. I know there's things like the winter fuel allowance kicks in, bus passes, all of these different things, free prescription. I think the TV licence, you don't have to pay for that after the age of 80 or something. So yeah, you know, I'm not at that age, living on far less and getting none of those freebies. I don't get free prescriptions, nothing. Anyway, I'm just trying to make the point that, you know, it's possible to live happily, but do make it your priority at some point in, you know, maybe in the next few weeks, make it your priority to get on top of your finances. Don't ignore them. Get all that paperwork out. What is going on? Where can you swap? Where can you ditch stuff and say, I really don't need that? Are you paying for old policies, old insurance policies still that you don't need? Yeah, do a bit of housekeeping. Oh, just to say as well, with food, I know I have an Olio account. People keep saying to me, oh, you should get an Olio account. Olio, don't know how it's pronounced. And I have one. But down here, it's I haven't seen any free food being offered. But, you know, I was looking last night just to check because I knew I'd be making this today. And I laughed because I thought, this is absurd. They were showing Jaffa cakes discounted to 50p. And they were 10.1 miles away. So I'd have to do a £6 bus fare round trip to go and get cheap Jaffa cakes. However, I think particularly if you live in a more urban area, a large town, city, whatever, it's well worth looking into. But the other thing to consider is quite often these things come up late in the evening. So are you really going to want to go out at 8 in the evening to get some free food? You might do, you might feel safe to do that. You might not feel so safe going out at that time of night. Of course, the famous little £1.50 box, that's fantastic, isn't it? I never managed to get one while I was in London. I finally worked out the time to go there, and for my local branch it was pretty much at opening time. But that's another thing to you can get a little bit savvy about, get a bit canny about, is to it'll take a little bit of time and effort to do your research, but going into these shops to find out what time of day do they put their yellow stickers on stuff. And they might have 2 sessions. I know the Tesco near where I used to live in London had 2 sessions. One was around about 4 o'clock, bit of a reduction, and then the next one was around about 9:30. Then they really reduced stuff. And again, it depends on your lifestyle. You might not want to be going out at 9:30 at night to find food that needs eating that day, because you might not want to eat that late. It might be that actually it's going to be fine until tomorrow and you'll get it cooked or frozen tomorrow. Yeah, excuse me. Look, there are all sorts of ways to shave a few pence here, shave a few quid there. But ultimately it takes a little bit of time and a bit of planning. I think especially with, say, the food stuff, I don't know that I'd be wanting to go out at 9:30 to get free food. That wouldn't be for me. However, having the annual day of blitzing my bills, seeing if I can get a better deal somewhere else, trimming the fat. Well, the fat, I don't need to trim the fat anymore. The fat was well and truly trimmed 9 years ago. But for you, it might be a case of, actually, yeah, let's just review everything and see if, are we actually wasting a bit of money somewhere? That old magazine subscription. Only you can tell that for yourself. And like I said, it's not about cutting out all the joy and cutting out all the treats and the fun and da-da-da. However, we just have to be sensible and recognise that, I think times are extraordinary at the moment, partly, and it's so much of it is geopolitically driven. During these extraordinary times, we might have to just say, okay, I'm going to be a grown-up about this and manage things a little bit better. I realise I've been yapping for ages, so I need to toddle off, but yes, cheers and yay to 9 years. Who'd have thunk it? It's been, for the most part, for the vast majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, it's been an absolute joy. I love how I can do my life now. I really, really love it. And that's not to say it's perfect, it's far from it. And there have been struggles, there have been times of real stress in these 9 years, of course. However, if I was still working, let's say I was still working and being a bookseller, in these last 9 years, there would have been times of stress. Life is stressful at times, whether you are working for someone else and you have a wage, or whether you're doing like me and going alone and saying to the system, I'm going to manage on my own somehow. Life is going to be stressful at times, but it's far outweighed by the joy I get from life. So I'm all right, Jack. Anyway, that's it, enough waffling. Go off now, go and blitz your finances, blitz your bills, go and check all your contract dates when they're up for renewal. Look at those comparison websites, see if there's something better that you can get. just before your contract ends, so you're ready to jump ship to another company. And just that thing with the fuel prices, I'm not sure, I think Martin Lewis might be back on our tellies, I'm not sure, but yeah, so look out for his programmes. I heard him speaking the other day, I don't know what on, but he was talking about getting a fix now because it looks almost certain, there's no crystal balls, but it looks almost certain that in July, like I said, that fuel price cap is going to go up because of Trump. So yay, thanks Mr. Trump, thanks for putting our fuel up. But yeah, because of what's going on in the Middle East. So if you can get a fix now, I actually fixed back in, I think it was February. And I'm so glad I did. I got a 1-year fix. I was nervous to fix for 2 years. I kind of wish I'd fixed for 2 years, but never mind. But yes, certainly spend some time. All the things I just said, check your contract dates. Get looking now to see if you can do better with someone else, and just say bye-bye one company, hello another. Forget loyalty. The loyalty at the moment is to you and your family and looking after your money as best you can. I hope that helps. I hope that gives lots of ideas and inspiration for ways you might be able to save a few quid here and there. I really hope so, because, you know, if we can save a few quid here and there on our bills, that's a few quid more to put into the shopping budget each week, isn't it? And maybe having occasional treats in the shopping basket. They're only treats if they're occasional. Anyway, all right, lovely people, I will see you again really soon. I think next time in the garden again, because we've got a couple of dry, warm, sunny, oh, I'm loving the sunshine, some dry, sunny days coming. So I hope you'll be able to join me in the garden then. But until then, cheerio, lovelies.